Finally a nice sight to see. A little water, a little mud. I do not mind dirty vehicles when we're finally getting some rain here. Good morning, guys. It's a gorgeous morning to start the week off here. Got a little shower come through first thing this morning. You can see all the little water droplets sitting on the plant there. And nice to get a little more moisture. And our north pivot is off right now, which is good because I have a little maintenance to do on it. So this drop tube was leaking right at the top there. So we're going to pull him off. We might just chop off a little bit right on the top because that's where it's leaking at. He'll just be a couple inches higher. Should work. If not, we do have some hose and we can replace the whole thing. So we're up here tearing this apart. Got a nice little speed goat out checking things over here. Just making a cruise across all the triticale there. I think he's kind of wondering what I'm doing up here. What are you doing there, little guy? Good morning. You don't know what's going on, do you? What do you think? You're very confused, aren't you? So we only ended up cutting about 4 inches off of this hose instead of using a brand new hose. So it'll be a little bit taller than some of the other drop hoses, but that should be okay. It should be close enough yet. And then we should just put our hose clamp back on here. We'll be done with him. Then we're actually going to move this pivot back into the winter wheat. That's our winter wheat, and this is the triticale. So we're going to move him into the winter wheat because we need to spray some of these weeds in the triticale here. You can see there is tons of weeds out there. So, yep, we'll get them all put back together and get this guy moved. Figured I'd give you guys a quick little show off of our center pivot. Well, we're down here, and before we start it, move it. Yep, like I said, we're just going to move them into the winter wheat over there. But anyways, our pivot, so it's a half-mile long pivot. Say way down there, half-mile long. We've got our fuel tank here. That's a diesel. And then our big old Cummins diesel engine. And that powers this little generator right here, because this thing runs on 480 volts of electricity. So a lot of guys, if you have power out to your pivot, you can just have it plugged into the main line type of thing. But since we don't have power out here and it costs a bunch of money to run power, we figured we'd just have an engine with a gen set. And then our engine also runs our booster pump here. So we don't have enough pressure when we pull it out of the river, get him here. So he hits this little booster pump, and then it brings the pressure up and shoots it into the pivot, runs him way out there. We're actually going to fire this thing up, and some of the things we like to check for is first make sure our fuel valve's on. That's on the back side, kind of right there type of deal. And we want to make sure our clutch is disengaged because we're not watering right now. We're just moving it, so we don't need the booster pump running dry. We don't want it running dry, actually. And then just check our little oil sight gauge down there, which he's good. We're going to make sure our remote shutdown is in bypass mode, because if anything goes wrong on the pivot, it'll send a code that something's wrong, and it'll shut it down when this thing's flipped up. So that way you don't break anything, because you're not out here all the time. So it's just kind of a little safety feature. Anyways, we're going to actually, oh, yep, no, we want that off. Have that guy on. Push button to start there. Gosh, it's always kind of fun getting this thing started. Well, I should have brought my little stick with me for the phone, but we got him started up. He's just idling right now. I like to let him warm up for a few minutes first before we crank it up, because we have to run it so fast just to, well, keep the booster pump at a certain speed, but then we also need it to run the generator at 480 volts. So let it warm up for a second, and then I'm going to bring the engine RPMs up to get the guy moving. And I'll try to show you that. We'll probably have to do subtitles because it's going to be extremely loud. First off, we just got our main on-off switch for the power. And the thing we're looking at on this right-hand side is the 480 volts. We want that to be about right. And then if we're watering, we got to keep an eye on the PSI there too. And then on the left-hand side, we have the water off, dry timers at 100%. That just controls your dry speed when you're running it. And then the other thing is our auto stop there. You can see it's an auto reverse. That just means it bounces back because our pivots don't actually go in a complete circle. They're just half pivots. And then we're going to run out and we'll see the tire actually moving here. See him moving in a second. Even at 100%, it does take a little time just getting everything moved though. So those are actually, oh, there we go. So it just kind of stops and goes. It doesn't continuously go. So it goes for a little bit, then it stops, and then it goes again. But anyways, these are kind of the little nozzles there. So we actually have different sizes of nozzles along the whole thing because the outside of the pivot's moving a lot faster than the inside here, because you think about it, it's big arms. So actually another part here, kind of look at. So if you look down there, you can see the pivot's not exactly straight. It's actually got a little bit of kind of a bend into it, kind of sort of curved like that, and it just does that for whatever direction it's going. So we've got kind of a curve going this way. That's because we're going that way. And then when we go the other way, it'll curve kind of that other direction. And just some little different things it does. We're out here doing an oil change on the pivot today. Kind of in a rush, so I'm not going to have a full video of that. But I figured I'd give you guys a quick little video of this thing starting up here so you can kind of hear it, see how he starts up. Not the highest quality shot because I do need new windshield wipers on the pickup. Hadn't even thought of it because it hasn't rained in a while. But man, it is just really getting rainy out here today. Just got a text from the pivot that it shut off. I don't know if it's the boss man that turned it off or if it got stuck. But anyways, we're on our way out there to go check, see what's going on. I'm saying the road is just sloppy. I'm loving to see it. Say it got mud puddles everywhere. Gosh, it's gorgeous. See what happens when we get out there. Now we're out here on the good old just dirt road. There's no gravel, so we're just kind of throwing a little rooster tail behind us there. Actually not too bad though. Sometimes this road can get just terribly nasty, but we're in four-wheel drive right now. Traction control's off. So you gotta have the traction control off on these things or else you can't even get down the road at faster than like 2 miles an hour. So yeah, we're just zipping right along out here. I'm guessing the boss is out here. His pickup wasn't at his house, so I think he might have just shut everything down. Figured it's getting a little too wet, but we'll see. Well, since it rained, we had a little bit of chemical left inside of the sprayer here. So if it's something that needs to be stirred up and we're not spraying for a few days, what we do here is we'll just start the truck up, turn on our liquid pump here, and then we'll turn on our agitate, and we'll just let it kind of sit there and stir itself up for about 10 minutes because we don't want it all settling back together. And then that way when it's dry enough, we're still ready to go spraying.